Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the TFL podcast. And you just got me tonight. It's we're on the boat, flying solo. So welcome into what might be a really interesting night. But either way, it's me. Arch is off. Look, he's on a little family holiday. So lucky him, lucky that guy. And look, I'm going to do my best tonight. Now, it's a little bit of an interesting slate, but before we get into that, of course, check us out. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Not Instagram anymore. That was a long time ago. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, like and subscribe. Thank you. We have a Patreon at the TFL podcast, and we have a great Discord chat. And if you want to jump on board that, it's $2 Australian dollars a month, just to give us a little bit of the support. And we'd love to see you on there. There's a great bunch of guys out there as well. So jump on that and, get part of our little community of DFSs. So jump on board. Now, tonight, we're going to look at some of the Draftstars stuff that is going on. And we are going to check out two special things. Now, we've got Thursday night football, and we've got two games on Sunday for us in Australia. The Saturday games in the States, and Draftstars have released prices for those two things: the Thursday night football and also the two Saturday games. So that's what we're just going to talk through here. So it's going to be a bit of a shorter episode this week because trying to get up in the next couple of days and do another one is just not quite in our time frame, unfortunately. So we're just going to comment on what we can, or I'm going to comment on what I can tonight, and we're going to look into particularly the Thursday night football game and the two-game slate as well between. You've got New England taking on Indianapolis, and you've got Las Vegas taking on Cleveland. So, look, those games are going to be really interesting because COVID is just ravaging some teams in the NFL, Cleveland being the main one that will affect what we'll talk about tonight. So stay tuned for that. Now, unfortunately, with no Arch means that the tech side of things is probably down in quality just a little bit compared to what it normally is. So just bear with me because we don't have a drop here. We're just going to jump straight into Thursday night football. And if you're looking on YouTube, then you will be able to see the Draftstars stuff popping up on your screen just about now. So this slate it's an interesting thing. Showdowns are always interesting. We just got 6 flex spots here. We're not looking for a captain or anything like that. So let's just quickly look at these two teams. You've got the Chargers here. And the Chargers, if we look at we look at DVOA, that's footballoutsiders.com. Go check them out. They kind of look at how well a team does against the average. And so if I'm looking at rush DVOA on defense, well, the Chargers down at the very bottom at 32nd. So these guys, we know this. The Chargers love to just give up yards to the run. Now, why is that particularly relevant? Well, Patrick Mahomes, he gave us a 20-burger last week, but aside from that was against Las Vegas, of course. Aside from that, Denver, Dallas, rubbish. Las Vegas before that, okay, big game. But for 10.4, 15, his form is pretty rubbish. And coming into this, last week we saw Clyde Edwards-Helaire put up 3 receptions for 5 yards, whatever, 37 rushing yards, but 2 rushing touchdowns. So he was used at the goal line. That's what they found his role for. And Darrell Williams here, 3 for 31, a receiving touchdown, and 8 rushing yards. Last week, we came across Tyreek Hill, only 11.6 against the Las Vegas Raiders, 4 for 76. Travis Kelce last week. Whoa, it's 2 horrible weeks, 3 for 27, 2 weeks in a row. So I'm looking at this and going, if Kansas City are really going to exploit Los Angeles's, weaknesses, then is this a Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Darrell Williams week? Where they're going to run both these guys. Now, it looks like Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the clear 1-2 punch, and then Darrell Williams is going to be the receiving back. Darrell Williams with the receiving touchdown, and Edwards-Helaire with the rushing touchdown, punching it through there. Now, of course, the Kansas City defense last week had an absolute field day in terms of they only allowed 9 points, 4 sacks, 1 interception, 4 offensive fumbles recoveries. So you're looking at their performance last week and going, okay, the Kansas City Chiefs did not have to do much on offense. So you read this two ways. One is you go, okay, how are they going to attack this? Are they going to push this through with a Darrell Williams, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, punch and run, exploit the weakness of Los Angeles' very, very poor run defense? Or does this get into a shootout where we see Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce need to be part of the game plan? For me, I'm leaning more into that space of I actually don't mind playing Darrell Williams here. He's 7,700. That's fairly cheap for what he can do. Like if he gives you a 12.9, he's not killing your lineup at 7.7. Chances are though, you might find some of these other pieces down here on the lower range that might actually give you more than that. But if Darrell Williams and Clyde Edwards-Helaire are the kind of focal point of this game, then you can get different from the field. Because let's be honest, everyone's going to be playing Hill, Kelce, Mahomes, particularly Kelce. And if we're looking at tight end points, fantasy points against and PPR, the Chargers have been given up in the last 5 weeks 14 points per game. So that's ranked 10th. Over the whole year, they actually have been pretty poor. On the season, if we're looking at on the season, the Chargers are 6th in terms of points against allowed to the tight end. So Kelce's in a good spot. I think Kelce's in a good spot here to be utilised. So I don't mind Patrick Mahomes with Travis Kelce. Tyreek Hill, though, if we're looking at DVOA again, they have been very, very good against the pass. They're a 9th in DVOA, so they are the 9th hardest in terms of what they're doing there against the pass. So I'm looking at that going, okay, they're probably going to cover Hill pretty well, and Hill has had some dud games this year. Look at that, 4.2, 7.3, 12.7 is not great from someone that is at Tyreek's price. Now, he's priced down a little bit at 16,000. Same with Travis Kelce. Mahomes up there and Justin Herbert up there at the 21,000. So, look, if you're going to run Patrick Mahomes, if you're going to run a Kansas City Chiefs, offensive front here, like a 4-2 of Kansas City to LAC, then sure, you kind of want to be pushing about Patrick Mahomes at Kelce. I don't know if I want to fit both Hill and Kelce in. I just don't know if it's really viable. But then you could probably put in Byron Pringle and a Darrell Williams, and he's still got 14,000 average there to kind of play around with, which I like. Byron Pringle as well, guys. Let's look at the snaps. If you're looking at the snap percentages over the last number of weeks, Byron Pringle is the clear 3. Like, it's not close. Clear 2 in terms of wide receiver snaps. Like, Tyreek Hill is on the field a heck of a lot. Last 2 weeks, 88%. Only 67% against Las Vegas, but again, the defense was doing heaps there to help them out. Byron Pringle last 2 weeks, 72%. 2 weeks ago, 61%, like almost on par with what Hill was doing. Demarcus Robinson's the clear 3rd. Then you've got Josh Gordon and Mecole Hardman kind of splitting snaps there for that 4th spot as well. So I'm looking at this and I'm going, okay, Byron Pringle is on the field a lot. If you're looking for those opportunities, if you're looking for something to go right in this game, then Pringle could be that guy, especially if they're going to give Tyreek Hill a lot of attention. Then I think Byron Pringle's the best pivot off of Tyreek Hill in this game. So Demarcus Robinson, I'm not a huge fan of because he's that clear 3, so which means he's potentially 4th, 5th, even 6th in terms of target share. So I'm not loving that. Byron Pringle, you can tell, he hasn't had great games. Only 1 catch the last 3, but I'm telling you, the opportunity is what you have to chase in these kinds of games. So Byron Pringle, I don't mind. On the other side of the ball, though, Austin Ekeler, he's been limited in practice, so you got to kind of be careful about that. So just watch Austin Ekeler's status. I think he'll be good to go. So if he's going to be good to go, then it's pretty chalky. It's pretty, I think, predictable in terms of how they'll run this. Justin Herbert, he's going to sling the ball. He's going to throw it a bunch. 30 touchdowns on the year, mind you, already, 2nd year in a row. Austin Ekeler, a recipient of many of those. So Austin Ekeler with Justin Herbert is always great. However, it's expensive. Keenan Allen, we know he's going to come back into the side. He's off of the COVID protocols, which is great. So you're going to see Keenan Allen on the field. You're going to see Mike Williams, which means that it pushes down your Palmers and your Gaitons. last week, Josh Palmer saw 87% of the snaps. He really stepped into that Keenan Allen role nicely. And so, and Jalen Guyton, only had 59% of the snaps. So it only went up just a little tick off of his normal kind of 53, 54%. So Josh Palmer, I think, unfortunately, will kind of step back out of that role. Keenan Allen will be there for the majority of the time. I think that we saw that, okay, Palmer is the guy who is going to benefit the most from Keenan Allen's absence. So I guess keep that in mind as time goes on. But again, Jalen Guyton, he's there. His ADOT is bigger. He can do a splash play. You know, he can hit those high yardage on low receptions. So Jalen Guyton at 3,500, I think, is a great punt play for this. And he allows you then to kind of pay up into these other spaces. So maybe you go a Guyton and a Justin Herbert and an Austin Eckler. And then you can play, like you're probably then avoiding Patrick Mahomes. If I went Patrick Mahomes here, you could then fit in a Jared Cook, who I don't mind at all, and then a Byron Pringle. So you're playing a couple of punt guys and Guyton and Pringle if you're doing that. Jared Cook as well, we know he doesn't always get the pill, but he's averaging 8.4, but probably not enough. The ceiling's probably not there to really warrant his price. So I don't think Jared Cook is necessarily going to win you a week. It's not going to win you this showdown, I don't think. So yeah, you just got to be careful how you're going to tier that out. But if you avoid Patrick Mahomes and bring a Kelsey instead, where else can we go? A Keenan Allen. Yeah, I really like that actually. Herbert, Eckler, Allen, Guyton, and then you got Pringle and Kelsey in there. That's nice. That's not too bad. But of course, then you're not really targeting LA's weakness there of running backs. So yeah, you got to take that as it comes. So there you go. A couple of different builds for you to think about. I love what Herbert's doing, and in terms of consistency, Herbert's been awesome. You know, 2 scores under 24 in the last, 7 weeks, or 3 scores in the last 8 weeks under 24. But other than that, he's got some ceiling games. He's killing it. Patrick Mahomes, on the other hand, yeah, great a month ago against Las Vegas. But otherwise, it's been about 2 months since we've seen anything decent, anything worthwhile chasing that 21,000 price tag. So you really got to ask yourself, okay, what is a 30-point game here for Mahomes to grab? I don't know if it is, because I think what we're seeing is that Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Darrell Williams are actually getting opportunities, and they're willing to establish that run a little bit more. And Kelsey and Hill, they're not providing, it seems, they're not providing the ceilings there for Mahomes. But hey, we could have that splash game, so you don't want to avoid it. I'll put a bunch of entries in. I'll definitely have Mahomes in a bunch, but I potentially will be under the field when it comes to Mahomes. But I love Herbert and Eckler and what they can bring. Now, if Eckler is out, I think Keenan Allen is a must. I think you have to play Keenan Allen. And potentially, without Eckler's receiving work there, you do pave a way for Josh Palmer in the short game as well. Potentially, you push Keenan out wide a little bit and you play more 3 wide receiver sets with Palmer coming in to play that. So just keep an eye out for Eckler's role, because if he's out, then that will change this a bunch. All right, I think I've said enough there about Thursday Night Football. So we are going to look at another slate here that Draftstars has got. This is the Sunday slate, Sunday for us Aussies. And this is really interesting. This is a funny thing. We have to fill out the whole, 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 3 wide receiver, 1 tight end, 1 flex, and a defense. And we've only got 4 teams to choose from. So you are going to be, most likely, filling out the max. I think it was 4 players from one team. So let's say if it was Las Vegas, you'd probably Jacobs, Renfro. Now, Darren Waller, he's got that question mark next to him. You have to keep being on top of that. My gut says he doesn't come back this week. Which if he doesn't, then hey, Foster Moreau down here at 5K, fantastic. Because this is one of those slates where you got to get a little, I don't know, there's going to be a lot of chalk. When it comes to a 2-game slate like this, there's a lot of chalk. Because let's face it, everyone's going to be wanting Hunter Renfro. Everyone. Especially if Waller's out. what what Renfro has provided the last 3 weeks is just frankly astonishing. And if I'm looking at that 14,600, like as the wide receiver 1 on the slate, everyone's going there. Like that's cheap. He could double that very easily, especially against Cleveland. So let's focus in on this matchup here. We've got Las Vegas taking on a Cleveland team that has just been decimated by COVID. So let me just pull this up here. Cleveland have, let me just count this, 10, 11, they have 15 players on COVID IR. 15 players on COVID IR. That is ridiculous. And some big names as well. You know, firstly, Baker Mayfield is on COVID, the COVID IR. So Case Keenum coming in here at a basement price of $8K. I mean, let's face it. In a 2-game slate like this, it's unlikely that we're going to see a winning score of, the 200 plus Draftstars points, which is what we see on the regular Monday slates. So you don't necessarily have to see everyone see that double, that 2 times the salary. Case Keenum at 8K though could put up 16 points. That's not necessarily hard. The Raiders over the last 5 games have been giving up 24 points to the quarterback position. The Raiders, in terms of defense, not doing all that well. Like they're really middle of the road for when it comes to the rushing DVOA, but 25th when it comes to passing DVOA. And so keep an eye out on that. Now, the other people that matter in terms of IR, now there's definitely linemen and guys like that I'm not too well versed in to speak to, but there's a lot. But Austin Hooper's out, or he's on the COVID IR, and we have now, if I'm not mistaken, Jarvis Landry. He's on the COVID IR as well. Now Harrison Bryant is not on the COVID IR. He got in a limited practice on Wednesday. He's the last man standing when it comes to the tight ends because David Njoku is also on the COVID IR. Harrison Bryant, if we're looking at that tight end spot, well, Harrison Bryant, where is he? Sitting all the way down here, basement, 5K. I'll probably play a ton of him if he's confirmed to play on Sunday. Harrison Bryant, the clear, well, he's the only tight end left. And no Jarvis Landry. So that also means I'll be looking down here at Donovan Peoples-Jones. Donovan Peoples-Jones, yes, he has some poor weeks, but when he's targeted, last week, 5 for 90 against Baltimore. He'll be chalk. Like, that's the reality. If these COVID IR guys don't get up with their negative tests and whatnot, Donovan Peoples-Jones will be chalk. You'll see, Harrison Bryant be chalk. Case Keenum will be chalk. They'll all be chalky. But that's kind of okay because what you should get out of those players would be decent enough to allow you to then get a little bit different and pay up elsewhere. Now, I could definitely see myself adding Nick Chubb into this because Nick Chubb, like we've just said, he's avoided all the COVID IR stuff. Kareem Hunt is out. It means you've got Deonis Johnson coming in to back him up, which means you're going to get a full Chubb. Nick Chubb is going to be running hot. Now, the question is, the offensive linemen, will they get up? Will they provide enough for him to get going? But we all know that Nick Chubb is just 1 or 2 explosive plays away from, really paying off this salary. So Nick Chubb there at just sub 17,000 is someone that I'll be trying to play a lot. So it's interesting, isn't it? We got sucked in though by all these injuries, so we just got to be careful. I don't know if playing all 4 of them is wise, but the value is there, isn't it? Suddenly I've played those 4. I've got 12,600 on average remaining. Like that's pretty good. Anyway, let's clear them. That's really all I'd be playing though. Those 4 guys when it comes to Cleveland. When it comes to Los Angeles on the other side though, Derek Carr sitting there at 14,000. He has had not a great fantasy season thus far. He can get the ball to Hunter Renfrow for sure. So, that's fine. But I don't know if that's the stack I want to chase. I think some people might get pulled into that. I'm not so sure that's where I want to go. Cleveland, when it comes to their defense, in terms of quarterbacks, let's just have a look here. Over the last 5 weeks, the Browns are 23rd hardest to score. 23rd. Yeah, sorry, hardest to score against. They're only letting 19.1 points on average to the quarterback position. And going down to wide receiver even, the Browns are only letting up 26.8 points to a wide receiver core per game as well. So potentially this is where we fade Hunter Renfrow. Now that's scary. That's a scary thing to say because Hunter Renfrow has just been smashing it. He's just being hyper targeted and showing off. Really, really showing off. Only needed one touchdown in the last 3 weeks to give us all of those point totals. Look at that yardage. It is just stupid. And it's all in and under stuff. So I don't know if I don't really want to fade Hunter Renfrow, but I think I'll be fading Derek Carr. I'm not sure I'll be going and pursuing that in this slate. The other guys don't really interest me much though. Mac Jones doesn't interest me at all. Yes, he's good in and under, whatnot. Ignore the 0.5, right? That was that snow game. The 24.5 against Tennessee, yeah, that was pretty good. And the question remains, will they throw it against Indianapolis? So let's move to that second game. Indianapolis taking on New England at Indianapolis. So Mac Jones, he's playing away. In terms of points against the quarterbacks, this is just where it gets ugly. So looking at the last 4 games that these teams have played, the Colts have allowed 13.9 to be the second hardest team to score against to the quarterback, and the Patriots 11.5. Now that's also including the Josh Allen side of that snow game as well. So don't read too much into it. I don't mind Wentz too much, but Colts, yeah, they've been real strong against the fantasy quarterbacks. And if we're looking at DVOA, rush DVOA, Indianapolis and New England are 5th and 6th in terms of their ability to stop the run. So again, what are we going to see there? I don't like the New England running backs here because we know it's a committee and already they're up against it in terms of a great defensive line on the Colts side of things. So I'll probably be avoiding them. Jonathan Taylor is the big question though, isn't he? Looking at Jonathan Taylor, almost 21,000 on Draftstars, and the next best guy, Nick Chubb, is $4,000 less. That's a big savings. I think I'll be seeing more of Chubb than I will of JT. But I mean, ideally, you want to fit both of these guys in because the running back situation is ugly. Really, I don't want to be playing Nyheim Hines, and like I said, Ramondre Stevenson and Damian Harris, not a fan of either. So when it comes to these teams, you got Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs on one side of the ball. Josh Jacobs is fine, I think, against Cleveland, especially with their defensive front. Their team is effectively out. Jonathan Taylor is the other guy. So I think we'll be seeing a lot of JT and two of these three. I don't think people will be wanting to get different. So that does leave the option to say, maybe Ramondre Stevenson pulls out one big play, and gets up. But it's gonna be hard. It's going to be hard. It's going to be a lot of chalk centered around these three. And I just don't know if you can afford to get different in the running back spot. So you just have to bear that in mind. So the Patriots, they'll run their two-headed monster, Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson. Damian Harris has that questionable tag. I missed that news, actually. Let me just double-check what that may be. But look, if Damian Harris actually misses, then I think Stevenson definitely comes into play. But let me figure out what that news is and I'll get onto that. But I think Jonathan Taylor's kind of the guy. I feel like you have to go there. I feel like if you miss him and then he just goes off, then I think you're kind of stuffed in this slate. All right, Damian Harris, hamstring, remains limited Wednesday. Harris appears to be on track, though, to being able to take the field on Saturday against the Colts. It will likely continue to be some form of a committee with Ramondre Stevenson in the backfield. That's on Sleeper via Fantasy Pros. Okay. So, yeah. Let's. I'm avoiding that. I'm probably just going to plug in these to you guys. Wide receivers, though, Jacoby Myers comes in at the third spot Michael Pittman the second. The guy that I'm really interested in, though, is Kendrick Bourne. He's the guy that can break things open. He's only priced at 6K. Look at these. He's almost 4 times his salary, 2 times in the last month. Now, last time against Buffalo, 3 rushing yards, whatever. I don't care about that game. Ignore it. The 3 games before it, 5 for 61 and 2, 4 for 42, 4 for 98 and 1. Kendrick Bourne is seriously benefiting from that dud snow game, essentially a wind game. So, look, I'll be playing Kendrick Bourne a lot. I like what he can bring to the table there. I think T.Y. Hilton's an interesting one. He hasn't really shown enough. In terms of his yardage totals, woeful. I think I'll be avoiding that unless I want to get real different. Back on DVOA, looking at Indianapolis and the Patriots. New England are also third against the pass. New England's defense has been so good. So, yeah. Playing Colts kind of makes you really nervous. It's really kind of JT and maybe Michael Pittman. So, look, I'm kind of talking myself into kind of playing Case Keenum here. That's kind of where it's at. So, I feel like that's a bit ugly. So, yeah, be aware. Be aware of that. Sorry, Molly, I missed your little comment. Myles Garrett playing. I can't see Myles Garrett on the injury list at all. So, that obviously bodes well for Cleveland's defense, but still a bunch of defensive ends and backs and all sorts that that are on that. Go to cbssports.com/NFL/injuries just to kind of observe that for yourself. All right, looking at this, we kind of are left with Zach Pascal, Michael Pittman on the receiving end. So again, I'm not a big fan. It's a bit ugly. Like, really, the thing is, like, the totals on these games are so low. I think it's 39.5 for the Cleveland Vegas game, and then 43.5 for the New England Indianapolis Colts game. I believe I've got that right. Let's just make a little quick lineup before we go. I know it's a bit of a short one, but let's go with this. Let's go with Case Keenum. See what we can do here. And when it comes to tight end, we don't know much about Darren Waller. Hunter Henry's fine, but his form has been woeful the last little while. Has been a while since he saw that 2-touchdown game. So I'm going to avoid Hunter Henry. Austin Hooper's on the COVID IR list. So isn't David Njoku. Jack Doyle, man, you can't trust any of those Colts to be somewhat consistent. So in terms of what Case Keenum can do, I'm going to play the Harrison Bryant, Donovan Peoples-Jones, and then we're going to see if I can bring in JT and Nick Chubb. Now, I know that means I've got a lot of Cleveland players, but Las Vegas's defense hasn't been fantastic, and Chubb and Peoples-Jones and Bryant are simply it. Like, if they're going to get anything going, then it's going to be through those guys. That's a big risk, though. If anything, the guy that I'd like to get rid of out of that is probably Donovan Peoples-Jones, because I think Nick Chubb will have every opportunity in the world to show that he can do this. Now, obviously, I'm scared to not play Hunter Renfrow, so I'm going to play him then. And let's play Kendrick Bourne. DST, well, where are we going here? I don't really want to play. You're going to have to play probably a DST here that is going to be against one of your players. So it's going to be hard to make that happen. Potentially, you could play the Colts and change out Kendrick Bourne for maybe Zach Pascal and hope for a touchdown. I don't think I can go there, though. But really, I feel like the New England Patriots defense is the place you have to go, even with JT in the side, because I think the Patriots will kind of just jump on Carson Wentz's passing game. Now, let's do with 15,500 to play. And when I'm looking at these options here, Josh Jacobs, well, if Darren Waller's not part of the show, then he's going to get an option, get lots of opportunities. So I potentially would go there, and that kind of fills me out. And let's be honest, it's disgusting. This is an ugly slate of 2 games that we have to kind of fill out somewhere. But potentially, this is how you get different, right? You go to tight end, and potentially if Darren Waller plays, you play him, or you play Hunter Henry and hope for a touchdown. That's where you have to go. It's not going to be like, oh, this is a nice pivot. It's going to be, I need to play something really ugly to make the most of this. You might go, maybe Brian Edwards, this is his week. The Cleveland cornerbacks are decimated, so let's play Brian Edwards. Instead of Donovan Peoples-Jones. If Edwards goes off, though, and here's a big one, I'd be saying that Derek Carr has a good game. But then, of course, getting Case Keenum up to one of the other starting quarterbacks makes it a little bit tricky as well. Look, get Zay Jones down here at 6K base min. He's had some decent-ish games. 5 for 25, 3 for 21, 5 for 59. He could do something with that 6K price tag, that's for sure. So Zay Jones, I'm not too afraid to play. But you get further down. Ashton Dulin, he's had 2 decent games, but only because of touchdowns. Oh, yeah, it's very gross. Very, very gross. Look, here's a team. Play it if you like. To be honest, maybe I'm looking at this slate and going, I just don't know what I'll do. I think I'll play a few. I'm not sure if I'll go the whole hog. But, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. Guys, thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate it. I know it's just a short one tonight, and it's just been me hearing my voice a lot, so poor you. But guys, please check us out on Facebook, Twitter, our Patreon, and jump into our Discord for $2 a month. We'd love to have you, and get on board. All right, we will catch you next time, and have a great week 15. Unfortunately, before I go, we probably won't have anything on about the main slate, unfortunately, because Draftstars haven't released their prices for that. Let me just double check it. And the answer is still no. And unfortunately, we just don't have time to record another podcast. But hey, if you're part of our Discord chat, then you can get in that, and then we have some great discussions about what the good plays are, what the cheap plays are, and all about that. So jump on board, and we'll see you in the Discord chat. Otherwise, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next week.